Welcome to the Veterans Psychedelic Discourse. We are a group that advocates for safe and responsible exploration of mental health treatments, and this is not a platform for the solicitation of illegal substances. Welcome everybody to our August show. My name's Alex. I'm here with Brian, and we're joined by two, I'm going to call them friends of mine because I had a great retreat with them at Heroic Hearts. We have Billy and Jake. These guys I met at the Heroic Hearts Project retreat in Oregon in July. And so we're going to just talk a little bit about our experience, what we thought about it, considering the structure, our intentions going in, and if our expectations were met, and just to help people that are curious about applying for a retreat themselves. Hopefully this will be able to answer some questions and maybe relieve some of that stress going into it. Welcome, boys. I appreciate you guys coming through. I'm going to start with Billy. Can you give us just a brief introduction of yourself and like your service background and what got you into the recruiter's office and up to the point of like applying to Heroic Hearts retreat?
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, thank you, Alex. It's good to be on the show, everybody. My name is Billy Evans, from Southern California. I was like a little skater boy growing up. Grew up in a little chaotic household. My parents drank and stuff a lot, and then high school sports fizzled out. And then I remember thinking, like, dude, I don't want to like work for my dad half the time, go to school half time, and then party half time. So it's like, let me just go join the Navy and shoot X-rays or something, and or do something, right? And then the recruiters, they sell you like, oh man, we have shifts and you get to go to Spain, and I've looked over so many chicks, or this or that, or you'll save money, and then you get to go to a specialty school and get out and make 80 grand. And I'm like 18 and I have no idea about nothing, and then I was like, okay. And then I thought I was gonna go shoot X-rays in Spain or something, and then I had no idea that corpsmen go with Marines. It's like 120 pounds, and I ended up I swore in on my 18th birthday, and then graduated high school, partied that summer, and then went into Navy boot camp on 9/11, 2007. And then then I did my schooling. Then come to find out, like, the X-ray school was full, and I already had a 5-year contract and stuff. So they said, you know what, we'll send you Greenside, West Coast. So I went to Camp Pendleton and learned how to be a Marine, if you would, and then did land nav and learned how to fire a weapon and get your guys' haircuts, the little Marine high and tight stuff and all that stuff. But then learned how to so FMTB is a Field Medical Training Battalion, like on Camp Pendleton's. And then after we finish that, we get attached to a Marine Corps unit. And I did that, and I got attached with the Marine Corps unit, went to Iraq in 2009. And then got to do some cool stuff with like QRF and EOD. And Then got back and all that stuff. I ended up doing 6 years. And then I remember then I got out, and I was, like, mental health effects with me were delayed. And I think a big thing that had a thing to do with it was the environment. And I was like naive to that area. But, you get out, you're not with your 4 or 5 boys anymore that, the names of their girlfriend's dogs, and then, so no uniform, kind of like the identity thing's away. We're conditioned a certain way when we're like in the military. And then so no uniform, no boys. I go back home and let me just do the community college thing. I guess I was like without a clue, and I couldn't wait to get my DD 214 though, so I got it. then there was civilian life, and I had a really hard time adjusting. And then I went through this gnarly divorce, and I soon found myself drinking heavy. Pain pills came in the equation, and then that escalated to a few years of drinking and drugging, and then it was terrible. And I think from the outside looking in, it would be like, "Hey, who's this guy? He's a shitbag. He's just a fuck up or whatever." But I heard it from Zach, one of the facilitators at the retreat. He said, outside looking in, you would think I was like a fuck up or something, but through compassion of others, like I was able to heal. And the whole time I was just enabled by post trauma, and that like stuck with me deep, and then I was able to kick the booze and the pills and all that stuff. And then I get sober, but however, there were still like innate feelings of shame and like worthlessness and just I was like conflicted. I was in pain and I was confused, and that's not like I didn't go into the military with that stuff, and then it just slowly I was just lost after time. And then even with sobriety and with connection and fellowship and going to school and being a part of and um, working out, having the car and the girl and the dog, there was still like um, a disconnect, from my brain and my heart. And then I started to ask, like there has to be something else, like, like what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like I had that feeling a lot. And then I slowly started hearing about like psychedelic assisted therapy and stuff. Like MAPS was, I think, the first that I'd heard about it. And I just started to ask people, and word of mouth led me to a website, Heroic Hearts Project. And then I was doing like ambassador work for him for a while because I was unable to get a passport. And then this last few months, they said, "Hey, there's a domestic retreat in Oregon and you're eligible. Would you like to come be a part of?" And I signed up. It was like effortless. And then I showed up, got to meet you fine gentlemen. And it was, I've been in and out of therapy for almost a decade. And that was by far the single most effective modality or form of treatment that I've ever experienced, and I think that's probably answers your question up to that point. I think I'm an open book though, but that's my little like 5 minute intro, I guess. But I'm, that retreat was less than a month ago, and I'm still kind of like in awe about the whole experience. I got to meet 5 other veterans who have been there, done that. We get to hop on the frequency real quick and just heal, and I truly believe and I feel that I was able to do that, and then I'm continuing to do that.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Um, Jake, would you mind doing the same thing, giving us a little bit about yourself, your what got you into the recruiter's office, and then up to the point of signing up for this retreat?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Jake. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you today. Hey, Billy, how you doing?
Sure.
Yeah, so for me, I never actually thought I was going to join the military, but I was always really very interested in it. As a kid, I was always really into all the war movies, like Saving Private Ryan was my favorite movie. My dad was in the Navy, so I'd always be going through his old stuff, wearing his clothes, wearing his dog tags, playing Army Man in the yard and everything like that. So I was always kind of a little obsessed with it, but I never had it in my mind like, that's just not something I'm going to do though. But um, once I turned 18, a lot of my friends at the time were starting to choose that route, and I didn't really have a lot of plans coming out of high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself. Didn't want to go to college necessarily, but I still felt this urge to do something, to be important, to have purpose. And at that time, so I joined in 2000, right as basically December 2009 or 2008. So it was about almost 2009. And so, the war in Afghanistan and Iraq and all that had already been going on for a long time. And I'd been paying attention to that and seeing the sacrifice other people were making. And I was like, what, I think I'm feeling called. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So signed up. I actually originally signed up for the Army Reserves, and I was going to get like a $20,000 sign-on bonus, but it was the day before I was supposed to go to MEPS, and I was like, I kind of second guessed. I was like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. And I had this thought in the back of my mind, like, you know what? The war is it's really going on, and I just felt like if I'm going to do this, and I'm potentially going to go to war, who's the best like group that I could go with? Who's going to give me the most preparation for this? And so I kind of felt like maybe I'll check out the Marine Corps. And also, I went into every other recruiter's office, and everybody was tight and buttoned up in their uniforms and like, "Hello, sir, how you doing?" And very professional. And I went into the Marine Corps office, and they had their feet kicked up on their desk, and they're just relaxed and in their civilian clothes. And they're like, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" I was like, "Oh, this is my group of people here." So they immediately welcomed me in, obviously, and got me to join. So um, yeah, I didn't really have any plans on what I wanted to do either. I just knew I wanted to serve and have purpose and do something cool. But so they kind of, at the time, I'm sure they were needing combat engineers anyway, and they told me about the job. They're like, "Yeah, you're gonna blow stuff up all the time and deal with explosives." I was like, "Ah, that sounds awesome." So signed up to do that and left in October 2008 and graduated, I think December 2009. So yeah, that was basically the story of how I joined as a combat engineer. And then yeah, immediately, I think as soon as I hit the fleet, I had like 3 months of a little bit of training, and then we were shipping off. So I didn't really have a long experience in that of training. And so when I did get deployed, I was tasked to do route clearance. So basically either patrolling, sweeping, or driving and looking for IEDs every day. And unfortunately, 3 IEDs found me before I could find them. So luckily, 2 of them were in a vehicle. One of them was on foot. I was just directly behind the person who stepped on an IED. So yeah, that immediately I started to have effects from mentally and psychologically, just head injury stuff, concussion symptoms, and everything like that. So as soon as I got back, I started, letting people know, hey, I'm not feeling right. This isn't right. And so I started going through the medical process and ended up getting medically retired. And then so after I got out, I was kind of living a little bit of the honeymoon phase of getting out. You're kind of excited, but then immediately started to lose my sense of purpose again. Like, what am I doing with my life? I'm back in the civilian world, and I didn't really have a job. I didn't go straight into college. Just had like part-time jobs, nothing, like didn't have a career. And yeah, things just slowly started to unwind for me. I started to feel really dysregulated all the time, and I wasn't really sure. Like, I didn't know what a panic attack was. I thought like you had to be freaking out and like hyperventilating. And so I started having panic attacks regularly, but I didn't know what they were. And so I was like, man, what is going on? My brain must be broken. This must be concussion symptoms, because a lot of it is concussion symptoms and PTSD symptoms. A lot of them overlap. And so it was very confusing. I wasn't getting a lot of help from the VA. They weren't able to really, do a whole lot for that kind of thing. Especially, I think now they have a lot better stuff they can do for concussions and protocols and all that. But at the time, they didn't really have much available. So I'd done the talk therapies, I'd done medication, some physical therapy stuff, basically anything I could, but just wasn't getting any better. And it was slowly getting worse and worse and worse. I kind of dabbled in alcohol a little bit. I was definitely abusing marijuana, THC. I was using it every single day for just to kind of numb myself out, and then also for sleep. It completely eliminated my dreams, so that was at the time very beneficial. I wasn't having nightmares. I was able to pass out and sleep. Um, and yeah, it just got to the point where when your nervous system is that dysregulated and you're always in a fight or flight state of mind, it's kind of like that saying, like when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's what it felt like to me. Everything, even my friends and family, I started to be very aggressive and confrontational with them, because I just always had this story in my mind of like that I'm the target somehow in this situation. I'm the everybody else is the nail, or is the nail, and I'm the hammer. I need to be aggressive in this situation, essentially. So yeah, I really started to just seclude, and it was really just a recluse. Just stayed at home, did nothing, and yeah, I got down to like my lowest ever adult weight. I think I got down to like 147 pounds, and I'm normally around like 180, 190. just withering away, not eating healthy, not doing anything, not exercising. And then, so I had heard actually a long time ago when I was getting retired in 2012 about psychedelics and how they can heal the brain and just trauma, PTSD, and everything. And so I had found out about Hurley, I think around 2020, and applied, went through the process, and was on a retreat in 2021. And that was my first real psychedelic healing experience. I had dabbled with them a little before on my own, but with not good results because I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know I should have intentions. I would do them and go to like concerts, just I thought just doing them recreationally was going to be enough, and it wasn't. And it actually kind of made things worse for a little while. Um, so yeah, I got connected with them, went on my first retreat, went to Peru, did ayahuasca retreat, and similar to what Billy said, it was the single most beneficial, transformational experience, and it was the catalyst for my healing journey. As soon as I got back from that, it's hard to express and put into words how much it was a course correction for me. And I started exercising daily. I started taking care of my health as far as my diet. I started healing all my relationships with my family and my friends, and myself, really, and just really started investing in myself and taking care of myself. And yeah, it was hugely transformational, and so transformational that I felt, this is something I want to be more of a part of, because this is huge and this is big, and more people need this healing. And so I started doing everything I could to be an ambassador and for Hero Carts, and then eventually started kind of getting more in with them and started helping out a little bit more and more. And then just last year, so in 2023, I kind of became a liaison / facilitator for them and started giving back and helping on other retreats with other veterans. So yeah, and then this most recent trip in Oregon, I was actually not in the facilitator role as this one. I was actually just going as a participant. So I was able to fully be in the space and in the medicine space and doing my own work again in Oregon. And it was incredible. This was the first retreat actually I had done that was an all male group, and it was incredible. I'm not saying that co-ed groups are bad, but the all male ones, it really is just another level of connection and vulnerability and support that we're able to offer each other. And yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Just so that it's just not you two guys just giving some intro. So I'll keep mine short and sweet. I joined a little bit after high school, and basically just because there was a bunch of contention and confusion going on in my just the house, just personal life. So I told the recruiter, send me in to infantry, and he's like, your ASVAB, you qualify for a couple different options. And I was like, I don't want to hear it, send me in. And he gave me exactly what I wanted. So similar to what you were talking about, Jake, I was considering, because I have some cousins that also joined the military a little bit older than myself, so we're in sooner, and they're like, do the Army or do the Air Force, something like that. And I was like, if I'm going to go in during a time of war, I want the tough training, and I want to go in. And so that was basically all that was part of my decision making. And so getting out, of course, there's that culture of drinking. And I do remember coming back from deployment, there was like a screening for like PTSD, asking questions, were you around any explosions or gunfire and this and that. And just being a typical 311, yeah, you're exposed to all types of different stuff going on. It's quite an experience to be on a deployment. But my unit, everyone said, put no on everything. So we just got through all that. And so with the culture of drinking kind of masking everything, and that macho kind of mentality everyone has, like in the barracks, a lot of stuff went over. There was a lot of oversight as far as like what people actually are dealing with. And I failed a urinalysis for MDMA. And so I got kicked out with 1 year left on my contract. And before they sent me out, they sent me to a rehab facility. And while I was at that rehab facility, they were like, oh, you actually have like a PTSD. We're diagnosing you with PTSD. And I was like, oh, okay. it was a weird thing because that was kind of like the no thing to say when you're like in the unit, like trying to get ready for the next deployment. So, but I'm very thankful that they did that, because I was able to take advantage of some of the VA benefits, as far as like medical stuff and therapy, even with my OTH, instead of having like an honorable discharge. But getting right out, with under those circumstances, I'm depressed, I'm drinking, I'm smoking a bunch of weed just to kind of get away from myself, get away from reality. And I got into construction, hated it, but I figured labor job, I could work up from that, maybe make some money, make something of myself. Wasn't quite sure, no direction, wasn't pursuing any passion, anything like that. Fast forward to meeting Brian. We met at a church men's group thing, and was showing me some paperwork on, we've talked about it before on this show, hemisync meditations. And so we started using those, journaling, and then we started implementing some psychedelics into the mix. And whether it's LSD or psilocybin and DMT on top of these hemisync meditations and journaling and stuff, that's where I made a lot of big leaps in just progress on, as far as like enjoying and being curious about just like living life again. And so that's probably where the biggest initial impact was. Although after that, some time passed where I wasn't doing any psychedelics, and I do feel that there was kind of I did kind of stray off of this the path that I initially got set up on. And so initially running into heroic arts and hearing about them from the previous hosts of the show, which was Armand and Bruno, I looked into it, and I was like, you know what, I don't have my passport ready, and to take time off of work to go to the Peru or whatever, that's kind of a sacrifice. So I just put it on the back burner. But just like just within this past year, I had my disability rating increase go up, so that I'm able to step away from feeling obligated to be working while I'm in school. And the school thing I was able to swing, and the retreat happened to be here in Oregon, just a stone's throw from where I'm at already. And I'm like, if it's not now, when? And so myself and Brian, we improvised a couple things, we read about some things, talked to some people that do this stuff, and put our own thing together. But I was really eager and interested to jump into like a facilitated retreat such as Heroic Hearts, just to see what type of what their methods are, how they go and conduct everything. And I was really impressed. I felt everything was fucking top tier. I loved it. The amenities where we stayed, the Airbnb, the facility, all the facilitators, just the execution of everything. I fucking loved it, especially like morning sound bowl stuff, yoga stuff. Food was killer, but then just the time and space for the actual ceremonies, the environment of it. Yeah, it was all 5 stars as far as I'm concerned. I definitely like how there's the sliding scale for people that are trying to figure out if it's financially like possible for them. And I've talked to some veterans that I know, and they're like, even $500 which is the lowest for, to get in on a retreat. But even in that scenario, you could do a payment plan, and $50 a month it's doable. And I feel like it's kind of appropriate having it priced around that much, at least so that just so that people take it seriously, because if it's lower, then people might just maybe not take it as seriously as maybe they should. But maybe that's just me. Let's see. Did you guys have any like concerns or hesitancy coming into the retreat? Billy, was anything bugging you, or were you worried about anything about the retreat?
Good question, Alex. Glad you asked, bro. No, I enjoyed hearing Jake's and yours introduction. It's a little heartfelt. Yeah, like a big hesitancy of mine was, or hesitancies, if you would. I was so like hopeful because I have tried everything else. I was super hopeful, but then I was also like little I have some fear going on. You know, the last time I had done, well, I've probably done mushrooms like 5 to 10 times, and I've had a blast every single time. You know, music's better, whatever, like, you know, life's better for a few hours or whatever. But the time before the retreat, you know, like I probably hadn't done it for like 6 years, you know, but I did it before the retreat one time, and I didn't have a good time at all. I had a bad trip, bro. And I was like in the fetal position in my dog's bed, and my girlfriend's taking care of me. But I wasn't like, I don't know. I guess I didn't have a good time at all. But anyways, so I was going into the retreat. I knew I know in my heart that I was approaching it in like a righteous intention. You know, like, hey, I'm doing this to heal. You know, I'm not doing it just to go on a trip. You know, I've tried AA, and I do AA, and I've tried therapy, and I continue to do therapy, and I have a sponsor. I sponsor people. I'm really plugged in with the veteran community and the recovery community. But it's like, why am I still like off? You know, and the brain's a trip, bro. Like Jake said, like PTSD and head injury, those symptoms like hold hands, you know, and throw that in with like regular life shit and adjusting shit. You know, I was ill equipped to handle life, right? So I was kind of like super hopeful, maybe like, but then I was also, I didn't want to put like all my eggs in this basket. Like, hey, I'm going to do mushrooms one time, and then I'm healed forever. I was just super hopeful that it's like psychedelic assisted therapy, plant medicine can be a tool. And I was hoping that it could get me past the barriers and where I'd been stuck at, you know, like, because I think talk therapy kicks ass. I think community and friendships and purpose, they all kick ass, and we need them as humans. But like, I felt like there was just this proverbial wall that I was stuck at. That could have been head injury, could have been drug addiction, could have been childhood trauma, could have been war trauma. It could have been all of them, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, that, and like, but then it was like, there was a fear of like it not working or me having a bad trip again, you know? And I was really open with that with my coach through HHP. I was vocal about that with Armand. I was vocal about that with you guys in our cohort for the retreat. And I was, you know, a little vulnerable, and you guys were like, yeah, it's okay. Like, people have bad trips, you know, but I think just the whole like intention setting and the space and time that's created with the cohort, the facilitators. Um, and I think a little bit of healthy fear is normal. And it's, I guess that, you know, that maybe would imply that there's respect for the medicine. Uh, but I was a little fearful, but I wasn't in fear, you know, if that makes sense. And then I showed up, you know, and then just put on my seatbelt and enjoyed the ride.
Did you have any hesitancy or concerns, Jake, going into this, or did you feel kind of comfortable just from your exposure already prior?
Yeah, I actually had quite a bit of hesitancy. Well, so for this retreat, I will say no. I think it might be best for this question to talk about my first experience with it. So yeah, going into my first experience, I did have a lot of hesitancy because very similar to Billy, I had experimented with psychedelics on my own and ended up getting to some points where I wasn't having a good time at all. It was actually doing more harm than good. And so I was very, very reluctant at first, really, really nervous, but also extremely hopeful because at the time, there was no other avenue of like, I didn't have any other options. This was kind of like, if, you know, it's not like I was putting my eggs in one basket, but this was the only basket I could see at the time. And so I was really hoping and very hopeful that this was gonna be the thing that I needed to move past my struggles. And so with that, the only other thing that I would say wrong to prepare for this was especially back then, I was very over analytical. And so I immediately, once I accepted to going and I was like, okay, this is happening, I got on YouTube and I started watching every video I could on like an ayahuasca retreat because I wanted to just prepare myself. That's like, I feel like every person with a military background or just, it's good to feel prepared. You want to feel prepared. You don't want to go into something and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I watched like every video I could on ayahuasca experiences and ceremonies, and I kind of freaked myself out even a little bit more. Um, so yeah, those were my hesitancies. But just like Billy said, it's a very good thing, I think, to have a healthy level of respect and reverence for these medicines and these experiences. I don't think people should go into them necessarily lightly. I don't think you should go into them full of fear either. Um, but yeah, it's good to know what you're doing because these are very powerful substances, and in the wrong set and setting, as they say, things can go the wrong way, as both Billy and I experienced. So that's one thing that Heroic Hearts really does the right way, is they really set the stage. They set the set and the setting. They provide you with support the whole way through, with integration before and or preparation before and integration after, and then also just through the experience, I think, of the group, um, is where a lot of the trust and healing comes from as well. So I think that's a big part that kind of helps ease your tensions a little bit, knowing that like everybody in this retreat is feeling the same way. We're all feeling a little on our heels about this, a little, like what's going to happen kind of feeling. And I think that brings some trust into the group, and just the fact that we all have shared kind of a similar military experience, and we're all coming into this to try and be vulnerable. And we're all here to help and support each other. And I think, yeah, just that group aspect of it is really, really helpful and beneficial to the whole process alone, not just the aspect of doing the medicine.
Yeah, I felt like it was a really good group of guys that showed up because, to be honest, the biggest hang up that I had, because I was coming into this retreat with some familiarity with the medicine, but I was like, what are these good? Who are these guys going to be? Like, I was actually a little bit like, I was worried about being judged about, like, I don't know, my getting kicked out before my contract ended, or this, your deployment's not as tough as, I don't know what to expect and what type of ego was going to be brought up. And I was like, shit, I wonder if it's going to be like, if someone's going to drag the whole thing down or something. I was getting in my head. I was getting in my head, and it was all for nothing because I felt like there wasn't a single person that I was like, I felt guarded up against. Everyone was working on their own stuff, and it was just a great group. I want to take the next question to you, back again to you, Jake, just because I don't recall if any encounters with you. How do you feel about the retreat facilitators' support through the experiments, just from the ceremony? Do you encounter them very much?
Um, I had minimal, I would say. I didn't feel like on this particular retreat I had too much really heavy things come up for me. I think, as everybody in the retreat knew, the first day it was pretty amazing for me, and filled with love and joy. Um, but I was able to just feel their energy, feel their presence. Everybody did bring a different kind of aspect to the ceremony, and the whole facilitator crew was both from Heroic Hearts and from Intertrek were incredible. I can't imagine needing anything that wasn't provided in any aspect, whether it be support or something to do with the facility itself. Um, and just the intuitiveness, because there was a moment, and it was on the first day, when I saw Allie just kind of walking around supporting other people. And I was like, man, I really could just use like maybe a hug or something, or just some sort of attention. But I was kind of a little reluctant, a little nervous to ask for anything because I didn't really need anything, but just felt this little itch of something. And so I kind of just sort of sat up and just kind of looked around, and then intuitively, Allie, I think, just knew that I needed something, and she came over and just kind of handed me my water bottle and offered me if I needed any water. And it was just even that little thing right there. She was in tune with what was going on, and just could recognize, like, maybe he just needs something. I'll just go over and see what he needs, and maybe it's just a simple sip of water. So yeah, I think the whole facilitator crew did incredible, and the support I saw them offering to other people too. really seemed like it was what those people needed at the moment as well. So yeah, I couldn't have asked for any better group of people or any better group or any other better setting for that.
I agree. I liked all the facilitators. They were I didn't really need their assistance very much through our time during the ceremony, though just catching like a glimpse of them when I would take off my blindfold and whatnot, they just fit the environment so well. The vibe was good. But it's funny that you mentioned Ali because I did like look to my side and I see Ali doing yoga and she was upside down and I made eye contact with her while she was upside down and I just cracked the biggest smile and I was like, damn, just like even when there's nothing to do, it's like they're just fitting the vibe so well. Positive all around. I dug them so much. But Billy, I think it was did you have very much interactions with the facilitators and how did that go?
Not that I remember too much. I'm not trying to. During the experience itself, or like just in all.
During the ceremonies, just like how was your encounters with the facilitators while you were uh, under the influence of the medicine?
Yeah, I didn't like needing help to go to the bathroom and stuff, like the walk there, not to actually use the bathroom. I don't think I had too much interaction with them. I don't think that I did, but as far as like verbal like communication, I think there was a time on the first ceremony uh, for like my the first day was really intense for me. My body just kept like releasing a whole bunch of stuff, so like I just was like jerky. But that was me feeling like all that built up shit coming out, and I cried a lot. And but I guess about an hour or so in, I sat up and I looked over, and it's like you said, they're so in tune, and they are such awesome, beautiful human beings, man. All of them, like beyond words, bro. But I like sat up like Frankenstein status. I whoo, and I take off my eye mask thing, and I look over, and Zach was just like he wasn't like looking at me, but he had moved from where he was right next to me, and just like was like sitting there looking like the same direction I was, and he was just like this, like. And then later on, like I asked him, right, like like once I'm back on Earth and stuff, and then again, the cohort, the retreat, you guys were just beyond, like, just having like the brotherhood connection there. At least for me, bro, it just allowed me to go somewhere and to accept myself and to work on some things. So I wouldn't have had the experience that I had without you boys, But I just think oh yeah, so sorry. So I asked Zach later that day. I was like, hey, dude, like in the beginning of the thing, when I was like having like a hard time, I looked up, were you really like right there? And he's like, yeah, man, I seen that you were having a really like kinetic experience. Uh, and then I see you get up, and I was like, oh shit, he might need some help, or at least to have somebody close to him just in case. So he said, I sat next to you. I didn't look at you in case you didn't need me. And I just wanted like to provide you with the presence, like, hey, if you need anybody, I'm here. And fuck, man, just like the concept of what he said. And I felt it, I really did. I felt it with all you boys, it's fuck, man, like what an awesome thing to say. But even a better thing to feel, like, and he's experienced in this like environment of healing, and it's like, dude, from like guys like you included, Jake, Zach, and the facilitators, and Brian, veterans who have been, actually any human for the most part, but we're all vets. Any veteran who's been there, done that, with our struggles, adjustment or whatever, and the compounding fucking just complexity of the shit we deal with in our heads, bro. Who have gone through their own shit, have turned over how many rocks or stones before they get to plant medicine, right? Go on their own journeys, find their own message, then like bring that message back and help deliver it to other veterans who've been there, done that. Fuck, man, there's like special human beings in my heart, bro. Heroic hearts. But yeah, man, it's kind of went on a tangent there per se, but I hope I brought it back.
No, no, dude, you're good. I want to next talk about how do you feel the retreat addressed some unique challenges faced by veterans? So I guess I'll maybe speak to this a little bit for myself. The thing that because like I said, I initially with Brian have like jumped into this plant medicine very heavily early on, and but I was neglecting some parts of myself that I didn't realize, and that's what I really appreciated about this retreat, because it helped me kind of reorient myself in a very positive way. The first day for the retreat for myself is I was actually trying to reconnect with myself, because there was like, you think of like the whole like mind body spirit trinity situation. Like I was definitely neglecting my body. I'm in school right now, so if I could just keep my mind focused on getting my tasks done, that was probably what I felt was like the most firing at the most like highest RPM situation. I felt like I was going towards as far as school is concerned, something that I'm interested in, but I was neglecting my body. I'm not getting sleep. I'm not eating good, eating well, and it was something I was just ignoring about myself, and my body was trying to tell me. I could tell that my body was trying to send me some messages of how I'm neglecting it. And so the first day I really connected with myself. I was feeling my body. I was able to kind of tell where I was having some issues like in my back and whatnot. And the second day of the retreat, that second ceremony, I was really trying to reconnect with like my relationship with this world that I'm involved with, my environment, the people and the places, because to be the whole military mindset is, think of like head on a swivel type of thing. Like I'm always kind of on guard, always well, I'm always on guard. And so being able to step away from that, and kind of, I felt during the retreat, while I was underneath the medicine, that there's no reason to be insecure about like who I am, and to like I'm compromising the outcome that I'm striving for by like putting like a governor on myself, and I'm worrying about like how I'm gonna come off to some people. Sometimes I'm naturally like a very goofy person. I like to be silly and stuff like that, and sometimes that doesn't land very well with people, and I get that. And then mix that with like just military experience. Maybe sometimes I'm a little bit more coarse than I intend to be, but I know that I have good intentions, and I mean, maybe the road to hell is paving with good intentions. Though I felt that I was, in a lot of ways, compromising myself, and I was limiting myself. My perspective was compromised in this, just from being insecure. And so, coming out of that retreat, I felt so much more connected to myself and my environment, and much more willing to be open with the people around me, and to foster better relationships, stuff like that. So I'm curious if you guys have anything to contribute as far as how the retreat address any unique challenges that are faced by maybe veterans, the veteran experience. If you guys have anything to contribute to that, let's see, Jake, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job, Heroic Arts in general, of facing and helping people with those exact challenges that they are dealing with. And they really cultivate the whole experience around that. So the kind of the main goals with this process is to, first off, help downregulate people out of that fight or flight state of being and reconnect with their bodies and themselves. And then secondly, kind of have essentially a default mode network reset, which I'm not sure if you guys have touched on this much before, but so yeah, that default mode network is our more or less our subconscious, our ways that we go through life subconsciously, just the natural reactions we have to situations, the ingrained pathways and responses and ways of being that we just all naturally have. That's essentially like our ego in a way. And so this experience doing psychedelics essentially helps kind of fire so many of these new neural networks, and it kind of helps break us out of these patterns, break us out of these ruts and these ingrained pathways, and helps us to be able to not only see but to experience and feel and change our mindsets and the way we think about things, the way we go about our days, the way we show up in the world, the way we interact with people and ourselves. So yeah, that's essentially like the goal, and I think they do it really well, starting from the very beginning when we start having these integrations. Not only do we have one-on-one integrations, and the coaches that they have are all incredible, and they help you figure out the answers for yourself. Essentially, that's kind of the goal. They're not trying to give you all the answers necessarily, because they're not exactly like therapists. They're coaches, so they help you kind of figure it out on your own. And so that's great. And then also with the group calls, how they kind of help sort of bring engagement and bring us all together in a group and kind of prepare us for that. And yeah, it really just helps form that connection right off the bat, I think. Because we all, I think, go into that with the same sort of apprehensions of like, who are all these people and everything like that, and going into these experiences kind of a little bit maybe fearful and not knowing what to expect. So I think those group sessions kind of help break that barrier down a little bit beforehand and get us a little bit more familiar to each other and to the experience and what to expect. And then I think finally just the experience from all the facilitators and the coaches of just that, like, you probably more than likely are gonna encounter some difficult experiences, and that's fine. That doesn't mean this is a bad trip. There's not really per se a bad trip, I don't think, when you're doing it for the right intentions and have the right setting. You can definitely come across some difficult things, but I think just the experience and that container of being held, and like that this is okay. I can look at this difficult experience. I don't need to like run from this because I'm nervous and I don't have anyone here to support me. You feel safe and able to, like, okay, let me see what this is. Let me ask this questions. Let me dig into this and find out what the root of this is. Yeah, you just feel supported and in fact encouraged to ask those questions and dig into those things, because that's where oftentimes the growth is. And yeah, that's how my second experience went. I kept running into some uncomfortable moments, but then I was like, that's essentially what I asked for, even in the second ceremony we had, was that, give me what I need for my next stage of growth. And at first it was very uncomfortable, and I was like, I had that inclination of like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be comfortable and happy. But I had to face that uncomfortableness and look into that, and that's where the growth is.
I feel that another point that I really appreciated about it is just how they structured it, and then how that was able to foster just this level of camaraderie. I know, speaking to some of the people at Heroic Hearts, they're talking about they're trying to get people near Bend, people near Portland, so that after leaving the retreat, there could be like a community of people to engage with. And I appreciate that. Though I am thankful that, for this one, there was Billy, that you came, Jake, you guys are both from out of state. And but because that's an interesting thing. I'm not being near Portland, a veteran that's like, explores psychedelics as a form of for mental health. I actually don't run into very many veterans that I could even have this conversation with. I wasn't expecting that. So just to having the community and camaraderie, being able to touch base with you guys and talk about this stuff is something I'm very appreciative of, because I feel like having it be myself and Brian, that's like, gosh, I feel there's more people, there's more out there, and I'm just not finding these people. So I'm very thankful for that. How about you,
Yeah.
Billy? Do you feel that the retreat? Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
I was just gonna say, that's also the point of especially these Oregon retreats, and that's the goal, is to get these all over the country as soon as they start becoming more and more legalized in different states. That's what kind of the next direction of Hero Carts is to get the communities together and get people to be able to support each other in their community. That was kind of the plan with this Oregon one, because for some people that is a bridge too far to be able to take, up to 2 weeks off, or sometimes, and that long, and go down to the jungle, go down to Peru, and and this in some of the retreats I've done, you go on a 2-hour boat ride up a river. So you're out there. You're in the middle of the rainforest, kind of pretty secluded. And for some people, that's a bridge too far. So yeah, that these Oregon retreats are much more approachable, I think, for people that maybe want the same kind of effects, but maybe don't want to go all the way to South America and do ayahuasca in the middle of the rainforest with shamans. So yeah, that's kind of the goal, and I think they did a really good job. And yeah, I hope it continues to build in that aspect.
Yeah, I agree. The having a little bit smaller barrier to entry is going to open up the possibility to attend for a lot more people. And I feel like a big common thing for veterans getting out of the service is trying to find that next mission to engage with. And you know, as far as community goes, with you know, the suicide rate of veterans, I feel like mental health and supporting like your fellow service members, fellow veterans is, I'm not sure what a better, you know, mission would be. Maybe there's one out there, but I'm loving this one, and I have a lot of appreciation for it. Um, Billy, did you feel that the retreat addressed any unique challenges faced by veterans? Do you have anything on that?
Oh, dude, big time, man. Big time, big time. Where do I start? No, you know, like we're us as vets, we're conditioned a certain way for a certain amount of time, right? And then, you know, like kind of we're exposed to a certain lifestyle, then also external events, you know, that are kind of like gnarly, you know, and then it's you throw us outside. I mean, then we get out and you throw us back into civilian life, and then injuries, emotional stuff, the physical stuff, trauma, whatever, right? Lack of purpose, identity, a lack of uniform, a lack of friends, loss, grief. You throw all that at, or you throw one of those at anybody on the fucking planet, it's going to be a big deal. But you throw all of them at the same time, then throw in a head injury or two, you know, then throw in PTSD, then throw in some parents who don't understand, or throw in bills or whatever. Like, fuck, what's the person supposed to do? So it's almost like a no shit that it's like, oh, depression, got that. Oh, weed, hello, or alcohol or drugs, anything like to just calm us the fuck down or help us escape reality a little bit, right? So I don't, yeah. So again, man, I was like shit hot in the military. You know, I did get med retired as well, and then fast forward about a year, dude, I got arrested for the first time. I'm getting a divorce. I can't go to school and take 3 classes, and I'm thinking, dude, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, what the fuck? And I was kind of in shock, I guess, a little bit. And this is before drugs had ever entered the equation. You know, did I drink heavy at times? Sure, bro, that's what we fucking do, right? But or so I thought. But I was just struggling to cope and just get right. But like my nervous system was out of whack, bro. Like my heart was all over the place. My brain was, I couldn't tell you, right? So I'm pretty sure any veteran, combat related or not, Marine, Air Force, doesn't matter. Anything that I had just said in the previous 2 minutes can, any veteran out there could say, yep, I get that. Yep, I get that. Right. And I guess that's why in the retreat is so important and impactful. Like when you have the guys like you and Jake and even Big Chad and, you know, Zach and the facilitators and all those guys who have been there before, because they're just so vulnerable and honest and transparent. It like, I can like logically think like, yeah, I'm supposed to go in their open book if I want to heal, but like what's real and what's ideal are two different things, right? So I might like cognitively know or think that I know that it's a good idea to just go up in their open book, but the feeling isn't there, right? Or yet, like I'm going to be judged, or maybe my body or my trauma wants to hold on to this for whatever reason, or I was stuck, right? But you go in there, I was just supported by the facilitators, by you guys more than I was like, I thought you guys are going to be cool and supportive, but fuck, I felt it, you know? And then we're with that, you know, the medicine, the ceremonies, I feel like in my hearts of hearts and everything that I love, like I was able to get unstuck, you know, and like what that means exactly, there's more to be revealed, right? But we're not too far removed from the ceremony, or the ceremony, sorry, in the retreat. But throughout like the ceremonies, I you know, I had I vehemently like stamped myself with like failure, fuck up, or I should have done that, I could have done that, I would have done that. And it was like to the point where there wasn't anything constructive going on in here when I assessed my past and how I want to prepare for the future and how I accept myself in the present. So I believe that it allowed me to like dismiss that like negative like self belief, and it's a trick, right? Because I don't look at since then I'm not looking at my past with like disdain. Like maybe there's some, ugh, I wish I didn't do that, or it's unfortunate that that happened, right? Okay, that means my brain works, right? But it's like, what am I going to do after that? Am I going to take care of myself? Am I going to treat people well? Am I going to be mindful of how I interact with people and myself and how I talk to myself? And those are everything that I just said right there. You can like make the claim that those are no brainers, right? But when I think like Jake had said, those are ingrained like neural pathways. It's like that's my default is to fucking hate on myself for not doing perfect or not being prepared or not being able to predict how the world would unfold. You know what I mean? Like again, it doesn't make sense to think like that, but that's we're conditioned a certain way, and whatever. But I left that retreat with like a level of like readiness for tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, dude, tomorrow might be able to, it might actually be cool. Like let's wake up happy, and then the sleep's been better. You know what I mean? But it's like actually like almost like being grateful that my story is mine. With those dark chapters or not. And I used to for the longest time wish that I had somebody else's life or that my past never happened, but that's not the reality in which we live in. And today I'm excited about what tomorrow holds. Like, hey, let's go on a run in the 90-degree heat or whatever. But like let's take care of our bodies and let's like embrace tomorrow. And I think that that's I know I feel that I was able to get that from the retreat.
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be helpful too to add one more part of this, as far as how they do so well with helping veterans in unique struggles. And I think I can't remember when the study was done, but the NIH did a study that and they just did it on Marines. So, but I'm pretty sure it applies to all the branches. But the study found that I think like 95% of Marines that had diagnosable PTSD had one or more other mental health issues going into the military that maybe they didn't even realize at the time. And so heroic hearts, they would love, and their goal would be to help every veteran in the world. But just in the US alone, I think there's like over 16 million veterans. So there is a barrier of entry just because there's not enough funding to be able to help every single person. And that barrier to entry is like combat related trauma or military sexual trauma. So once you're in that gate though, they make it very known that that's why we're here to kind of begin with. But trauma starts oftentimes from childhood. It's not usually, like in my case, the IEDs, it wasn't exactly the IEDs that was the start of my trauma. That may have been the thing that made all the trauma start to exasperate and come out and be shown. But oftentimes trauma is essentially starts in our childhood at some point, whether it's through school or through, I didn't even think before this that I had any kind of childhood trauma because I had a fairly really pretty good childhood, I thought. But going through this process, I was able to kind of learn like, oh, maybe I was neglected. Maybe I didn't receive kind of the words of affirmation and the love that I felt like I needed to be shown when I was a child. So anyway, I just think that that's a really important part to add to that is that Heroic Hearts is really good about acknowledging that and inviting that into the space as well. That like, hey, we're here for all of it, not just our experiences in the military, but all the traumas that we've experienced in our life. It all paints that picture. And in order to heal and be our true authentic selves again, we need to be able to address all of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, we're not going to be able to get through all the rest of the questions that we have set aside. Brian, I'm curious if you had anything just off the top of your head that maybe not be from these questions.
Yeah, I was hoping that you guys might be able to speak to the cohort that was there, like the ages of the people, how many of them were there, what the branches were, what the jobs were, just so people watching can kind of get an idea of who's getting involved with this.
Yeah, there was 6 of us. I think everyone was a Marine except for Billy and Chad was Air Force Special Forces.
Yep.
But everyone else was a Marine, different MOSs.
But it proves true. Marines lead the way.
I know,
Hello.
and that was unique to this one, that I think it was a very Marine Corps heavy retreat, but ones I've done in the past, it's an open book really to any branches and anything like that. Really any ages as well. This one was pretty, whether it was selected this way or not, I think it might have just happened organically, but we were all very, very similar in our, not only our ages, but our branches, our experiences, everything was like really, really similar. So that really kind of made it, this experience in particular, really awesome. But it is very cool on other retreats to see that mix and blend of all the different branches and all the different experiences and different ages and ethnicities and backgrounds, and it can all kind of come together and create for really awesome experiences as well.
Well, now I'm curious, out of some of those other ceremonies that you've done, what's like the age range of people you've worked with? Like, what's the oldest vet who's come in to do this, and what's the youngest that you can remember coming in?
Yeah, so I have seen, not on retreats I've been on, but I've seen people come in as, I think, as young as their early 20s, like fresh out. Even on one of my retreats, we had a guy who was like just EASing, like I think like literally weeks before coming on the retreat. So yeah, as young as the low 20s. And then I haven't been involved in any of the retreats, but I know that they have had some Vietnam veterans come that I think up into their 70s were some of the older participants. I don't know that there's necessarily like an age limit per se. I think as long as like there are a few health qualifications, because there's some of these things can be a little bit taxing on like the heart and such. So as long as you pass those types of qualifications, like the health checks and everything, it's open to everybody.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really all the time that we have for today. I definitely appreciate you guys coming through. If you guys are open to it, I'd love to maybe check in and do maybe a part 2 of this so we can get through more questions. Maybe we'll advertise it a little bit better so that we have some people to participate and have some questions from the audience situation. If you're watching this on YouTube and you'd like to join us live for a future show, feel free to visit our Meetup page. I'll leave a link for that, where you can check out our calendar and see what we have coming up planned as far as guests and topics. Next month, we do not have a guest planned. It'll be me and Brian. We're going to come up with a topic of discussion for that. But we meet on the third Sunday of every month at 11 a.m. And we'll see you guys for September. Thanks again for joining us, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. And yeah, I'd be happy to join for part 2 as well. So.